We have some breaking news to share today. Rome, the successor to Babel, has stopped development and the company behind it has let go of all of its employees. Let's analyze why Rome was not built in 2 years, and let's also learn about the tool that will carry on the legacy of Rome. Rome was only founded in 2021 with a big bang and hype around it, and in only 2 years, it went completely downhill. I was following the company from start until the end, and even though I was just an outsider, it was pretty clear that things weren't going exactly right. Reason number one why Rome failed: they were just overly ambitious. They wanted to be a formatter, linter, compiler, bundler, a testing framework, replacing all of Prettier, ESLint, and all the other tools in our tool belt, but they did not deliver well enough to replace even one of these things. Problem number two was the company structure. They have raised 4.5 million from investors, and in the funding announcements they have emphasized that Rome will always stay open source. The company exists to support the open source project, not the other way around, and they even rule out having any paid functionality. In other words, they had no business strategy and they have ruled out ways to make money from the beginning. Problem number three: they changed their mind and they lost speed. 1 year after they started developing Rome, they decided to rewrite everything in Rust. Now, I sometimes feel this temptation myself, but in their case, this meant that they had to throw away a year's worth of progress, and that is pretty significant. The fourth and maybe biggest reason is that they have suffered a co-founder conflict. When Rome turned into a company, Jamie Kyle, a famous open source developer, joined on as a co-founder, and I suspect that he heavily influenced the decision to rewrite Rome in Rust, since he is a outspoken Rust fan. Unfortunately, only a few months after, he has left the Rome team. I don't remember if there was some drama behind it. I think so, but I couldn't find it anymore. It doesn't really matter. Rome found themselves in a situation where they had huge scope, pressure from investors. They have just started a rewrite and discarded a lot of their work, and that rewrite was led by a developer who would then quit the company. All of this together meant that they didn't succeed with their mission, and we can now see, if we look into this corporate filing, that they have forfeited their existence. I want to applaud them for an admirable effort. They wanted to make our tools faster and keep them open source, give them to us for free. The reason why I still criticize them now is because that is not enough to make a project exist for the long term. And unfortunately, they had a lot of wrong turns and in the end, unfortunately, folded. But there is some good news. Rome is not dead because open source is never dead. And a few people from the previous Rome team have stepped up. They have forked Rome into Biome, and they are continuing to maintain Rome and further develop it, and are still pursuing the idea of a 360-degree toolchain. It is really cool to see that the people who have been working on Rome were so passionate that they are picking up the project again and are detaching it from the original Rome brand, which at this point is probably just baggage to them. To me, the story is so interesting because I am obsessed about open source companies and how open source software can be commercialized. And this is unfortunately just another example of how hard it is to do so. So I wanted to share some thoughts about this, and I am genuinely interested to see how many people care about this story. I think in the end, the economic aspects of open source companies do not just affect like the people who are employed by an open source company, but everybody who is using open source software should be interested in this software remaining for as long as possible and striving and becoming better over time. And being sustainable is a big part of doing so. So thanks a lot for watching my commentary on this pretty sad story.